First, let's start with this case. I am a musical theater actress, 25-year-old female, currently in rehearsals for a musical at one of my country's national theaters. I'm an understudy for 2 female lead roles and a member of the ensemble. This is a significant opportunity for me professionally. Recently, my parents informed me that they had booked an Airbnb in the city for opening night and planned to attend the after-party. I was surprised because I hadn't mentioned inviting them and didn't expect them to assume they could come. As far as I know, the party is only for the cast members and possibly their significant others, not for family. When I explained this to my parents, it escalated into a heated argument. My mom became emotional and started crying, while my dad raised his voice, insisting it was normal for actors to invite their loved ones to such events. My father, who works in the music industry and has connections with theater people, claimed he'd been to similar events before, even for productions he wasn't involved in. They argued I was being ungrateful and disrespectful by not inviting them, especially since they've supported me in my career. For context, my parents have always been deeply involved in my life, often to the point of being overbearing. They want to know everything, seek validation for how well they've raised me, and crave recognition for their role in my success. While I love and appreciate them, their constant involvement can feel suffocating. I've discussed this with my colleagues, and most don't even have anyone attending the premiere, let alone the after-party. Many are unsure if significant others are even allowed. I told my parents I wouldn't invite my closest friends either, because the night is about celebrating with the cast and enjoying what we've accomplished together. I also reassured them of my love and gratitude for everything they've done for me. For once, I want to enjoy my success without feeling overshadowed by my dad or needing to manage their emotions. This night is about my work and the relationships I've built with my theater peers. To complicate matters, I currently live with my parents, and this argument has created significant tension at home. Am I wrong for standing my ground and not inviting them? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. It's always a difficult situation when parents try to live vicariously through their children. Congrats on the professional success. Don't let them ruin it for you. Go to the party without them and celebrate with your colleagues. Bringing your parents to the opening night after party seems like a great way to limit the number of future opportunities you'll have to attend opening night after parties. Maybe when your name is the draw, you can add folks to the guest list at will, but you're not there yet. You're not in the wrong. You're not in the wrong. They invited themselves to that in their mind, and you haven't said that. They made their definition of what these parties are like, while you have your own definition of what these parties are like. They simply never asked. And that is what messed them up. Next up, I'm 15M, and my stepsister Melanie, 14F, and I have been step-siblings for 4 years. Our parents, my dad and her mom Laura, got married when we were younger. From the start, Melanie made it clear she didn't approve of her mom remarrying and wanted nothing to do with my dad or me. The feeling is mutual now, so I deliberately avoid talking to her. Melanie struggles to work with people at school, often refusing to participate in group projects and spending time on her phone instead. The school frequently contacts Laura about this, but she insists the reports are exaggerated or untrue. I disagree because Melanie acts the same way at home, completely withdrawn and uncooperative. The current issue is that Laura wanted Melanie to join a school leadership program that prioritizes honors classes and other benefits. However, Melanie was rejected because, while her grades are good, the program cited her lack of teamwork skills as a reason for denying her admission. Even though we don't attend the same school, Laura asked me to help Melanie come out of her shell by giving her pep talks. Laura's reasoning was that Melanie doesn't seem to respect her or the school counselor, so maybe I could get through to her as someone close in age who understands being a child of divorce. I refused, saying that Melanie doesn't need pep talks from me. She needs therapy. Her dad is a police officer, and they have good health insurance, so they should get her the professional help she clearly needs, especially since she hasn't adjusted well to the divorce or school. Laura pushed again, but I pointed out that Melanie doesn't like or respect me, so it's unrealistic to think she'd suddenly listen to me when she doesn't even acknowledge her own mom. Laura called me rude and said it takes everyone working together to help Melanie, since therapy isn't an instant solution, especially for someone with trust issues. While that might sound valid on its own, it feels like Laura is just trying to pass the problem on to someone else, especially since she didn't prioritize getting Melanie into therapy earlier. My dad said my reasoning was valid, but he also thought my sarcasm made me come across as rude. I agree I was rude, but this situation has been going on for too long. Without professional help, it's clear Melanie isn't going to change, and someone needs to be honest with Laura. Am I in the wrong for refusing to help and being blunt with Laura? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. You're a kid. Simple as that. Sorry the grown-ups in your life are parentifying you in a relationship with a step-sibling who doesn't even want you in her space. You both deserve better. You're not in the wrong. Melanie explicitly said she wants nothing to do with you. Why would she take anything you say seriously? Being her age and another child of divorce won't overrule her dislike of her stepdad's kid, the new family she clearly doesn't want. And even if someone doesn't have trust issues, therapy is never an instant fix. That's why you keep going. Melanie needs to talk to an independent, unbiased third party, which would be a therapist, not you, OP. I hope she gets the help she needs. What you said was the truth. What Laura asked for was a delegation of her responsibility as Melanie's parent. You are a minor. You have no business giving a talk to another minor on a very sensitive issue. The source of the issue is that Melanie did not want her mother to remarry, and since then has sought to isolate herself at home and in school. I would have a talk with your dad and ask him to tell Laura she is not to discuss topics relating to parenting of Melanie with you. This is a boundary she has to respect. In the 4 years, Laura has failed as Melanie's parent. She tolerated her isolation at home, dismissed the school's concerns when they brought it up, and rejected therapy. From the way you write, it sounds like your dad and stepmother parent their kids separately. This is going to overstep the line. But Dad has to get Laura and Melanie to attend therapy individually, and then together on Melanie's dad health insurance. You're not in the wrong. It is not sarcastic or rude. Melanie needs therapy for her own mental well-being. Next up, I, 19M, have been living with my roommate, Ashley, 18F, for about 2 months. She took me in after her breakup, as she needed someone to help split the rent. For context, I'm a transgender man with ovarian cancer undergoing chemotherapy, and Ashley is a recovering drug addict who recently relapsed about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Here's what happened. After my chemo appointment yesterday morning, I came home exhausted and went to sleep around 1:30 p.m., waking up at 9 p.m. By then, Ashley was usually home, but she wasn't. Assuming she might have had a late shift at work, I didn't think much of it. By 6 a.m., I still hadn't heard from her after calling several times, leaving voicemails, and sending over 15 texts. I started to worry but figured she might have stayed with her mom and forgotten to tell me. I tried to sleep again, but when I woke up at 2:30 p.m., she still wasn't home. Panic set in, and I went to the police to check if she'd been in an accident or admitted to a hospital. After filing a missing persons report and speaking with a detective, I learned she'd been arrested for possession of a controlled substance. I was livid. Later that evening, Ashley called asking me to bail her out using the rent money I had already given her. Reluctantly, I agreed, not wanting her to remain in jail. I also used what was left of my money to retrieve her car from impound. Once we got home, I expected some sort of apology for her lack of communication. Instead, she asked me for more money. When I asked why, she explained she needed my share of the rent again because she couldn't cover it with her salary. When I refused, she suggested I cancel my holiday trip home and use the refund to pay her. For context, this trip was paid for by my parents so I could spend the holidays with them and my sick grandmother, who may not have another Christmas. The $500 refund would go directly to me per my parents' request. I refused, shocked she'd even suggest such a thing. She then offered a compromise where I'd pay her car payment instead of my rent share, which I also declined. She stormed off, calling me a bad friend and an asshole. Update: I called a close friend who offered to let me move my belongings into his place before I leave for my trip. He's also helping me find somewhere to stay when I return, so I can get out of this situation. Additional context: I'm also a recovering addict and have been sober for 4 months. My last relapse happened after my cancer diagnosis, breaking a 2-year streak. I know how difficult recovery is, but this situation isn't sustainable. Also, some people have disregarded that I am a transgender male and continue to use incorrect pronouns. Please respect that I use he/him pronouns. Am I in the wrong for refusing to give Ashley more money? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. Your roommate made the choice to have a controlled substance in her possession, causing her to go to jail. You were kind enough to run around helping her get out of jail. In no way are you idiot, you weplament. I would seriously rethink living with Ashley. You have a serious health concern and do not need the added stress. Ashley is the irresponsible one, and she needs to figure out how to pay the rent and get car payment. Lock up or remove any valuables before you go on your trip, my friend. People in the throes of addiction will sometimes do all sorts of stuff, like pawning your shit, that they wouldn't do while in recovery. Of course, you're not in the wrong. I'm dumbfounded by the audacity and psychotic lack of empathy from your roommate. You need to move out and distance yourself from her, pronto. She'd probably end up using the money for drugs or something anyway. And before you know if you'll be homeless, sick, alone at Christmas, and never see your grandma again. And when that happened, she won't have 2 fucks to rub together. Next up, I, 28F, got married 2 weeks ago and am still facing backlash for what happened at my wedding, so I'm here to see if I was truly in the wrong. My husband and I decided on a child-free white wedding, where all guests were asked to wear white. I personally don't like wearing white because I always manage to get dirty, so my dress was blue instead of the traditional white. The trouble started when I chose my bridal party, which included 2 friends from middle school, 1 from high school, my 16-year-old niece, and my cousin. Although the wedding was child-free, my family knows my niece is the exception. When we went dress shopping for the bridesmaids, I informed everyone they would wear black to match the groomsmen. Everyone agreed, and we found a dress that suited everyone with an adjustable top for comfort. However, my cousin asked why my niece was getting the same dress. When I told her my niece was a bridesmaid, she said she assumed my niece was there for a flower girl dress. She suggested her own daughter could be a bridesmaid instead. I told her no, her daughter was a guest, and my niece was staying in the bridal party. Things got awkward, but didn't escalate further at that moment. The real issue began during my bridal dress shopping. I had done plenty of research to find a dress style and color I liked. I went to the appointment with my bridesmaids, parents, and in-laws. After trying on several dresses, I found the one with my mom's help. While everyone was happy, my cousin made a rude comment saying I should pick a dress that made me look prettier and not as fat. That was the final straw. I snapped, said things I probably shouldn't have, and kicked her out of the bridal party and the wedding. A few days later, my aunt, whom I love and respect, asked me to allow my cousin to attend as a guest. Feeling guilty about what I'd said, I agreed. Fast forward to the wedding day. As I walked down the aisle, I immediately noticed my cousin sitting in a middle row wearing a gold strapless dress, completely ignoring the white dress code. I was devastated, but continued with the ceremony. Afterward, I instructed my wedding planner to have her escorted out and kept away from the event. Some people think I overreacted, arguing she could have stayed despite her outfit, while others believe she was disrespectful for disregarding the dress code. My aunt feels I could have handled it better by asking her to leave privately instead of involving security and embarrassing her. Am I in the wrong for throwing my cousin out for wearing gold instead of white? Let's start judging. Everyone sucks. I personally don't like to wear white. Oh, I have a great idea. Let's force everyone else to wear white if they want the privilege of coming to my wedding. Yeah, that's a bit of logic I can't get my head around. Everyone sucks. It sounds like she was being deliberately spiteful. However, I would absolutely not attend a wedding that required me to wear white. Your demand of your guests was unreasonable. You're not in the wrong. I'm a little confused because I've heard of all white events. So I'm not sure why an all-white wedding has so many people up in arms. Many formal events have themes and dress codes. This isn't anything new. Just say y'all don't know how to dress and keep it moving. A lot of people seem to be brushing past the fact that your cousin took not getting her way as a time to body shame you during your wedding dress fitting. Why did she think that was okay? Why did her mom think that was okay and turned around to vouch for her? No, you went off after something like that came out. People need to stop thinking they can treat others any kind of way without consequence. It's not hard to find something white to wear. You agreed to let her attend even after not receiving an apology or any promises or changed behavior, and that's how she paid you back? She purposefully did not wear white, and from the post, she also never apologized for the behavior that caused all of this in the first place. Ultimately, I don't think she was only kicked out for not wearing white. I think this was just another reminder of how you don't really like how she moves as a person. You're in the wrong for a number of reasons. You hate white and acknowledge that it gets dirty quickly. You should have asked your cousin what happened to the white dress prior to just kicking her out. Very likely that she got a stain on it and had to wear another dress. Also, her wearing something that's not the color you want made you almost cry on your wedding day while walking down the aisle. Priorities were off. Blacked out, and said a bunch of things. Yeah, let's call a spade a spade. You lost your temper and probably made nastier comments back to her in front of everyone. She didn't push you to snap. This was her first nasty comment, and you lost it immediately. Both of you are idiots here. You then continued to embrace her by getting security to throw her out, instead of asking her to leave, or asking a family member to get her to leave / keep her out of your sight. Her not following the dress code wouldn't have gotten her positive reactions or attention. You could have probably just handled this with a snarky remark to her. If you really needed to get it out of your system, then actually enjoy your day.